If I dropped you into any century in history, with nothing but the stuff currently sitting in your kitchen, you would instantly become one of the richest people alive on Earth. Your spice rack alone could buy a house. That is not a joke, and it is not an exaggeration. Your normal, boring, never enough life is stuffed full of treasures that emperors started actual wars over, and you cannot see a single one of them. They're invisible to you because you were born standing on top of them. So right now, let me hand you the eyes to finally see it. Here's the only trick you need. Stop thinking of money as a number in a bank app. Money is what that number can actually buy you. The comfort, the safety, the sheer ridiculous pile of stuff. Line your paycheck up against history that way, and it stops looking small and starts looking absolutely insane. So let's not waste a single second. Let's start with the cheapest, dumbest, most invisible thing in the entire room you're sitting in right now, the light over your head. Right now, there is a light on near you that you have not thought about even once today. You flicked a switch, and there it was. So here's a question that sounds stupid but isn't. How much does light actually cost? An economist named William Nordhaus sat down and calculated this across all of human history, and the answer genuinely rearranges your brain. To produce a set amount of light, say 1,000 lumen hours, your Stone Age ancestor had to work 58 hours. 58. Gathering wood, feeding a fire, all for a dim, smoky, flickering glow. You? For that same amount of light, today, you work for about a third of 1 second. Light became roughly 600,000 times cheaper. So every single time you wander into a room and slap a switch without looking, you are casually buying something a caveman would have burned an entire week of his life to get. And believe me, we are just getting warmed up. Now let's drop your paycheck into ancient Rome. Good news, first of all, you're rich. Genuinely, comfortably rich. That monthly pay could rent you a decent home, hire you actual help, and buy you food shipped in from the far corners of the empire. You would live above almost everyone around you. But here's where it gets fun, because there are things your money simply cannot buy in Rome. Not at any price. Unless, that is, you happen to be the emperor himself. You want a cold drink on a blazing hot day? Ice had to be hauled down from the mountains by teams of runners, physically sprinting so it wouldn't melt on the way. That is an emperor's luxury. Your freezer does it silently, every night for basically nothing. You want something sweet after dinner? Tough. Sugar doesn't really exist here yet. And that little toothache you've been ignoring? In Rome, that can genuinely put you in the ground. You are richer than a Roman senator in every way that actually keeps you alive, and you're stressed about your grocery bill. Keep walking backwards. The Middle Ages. Your monthly paycheck here makes you something like a wealthy merchant, maybe even minor nobility, and I want to show you two very small objects. The first is a book, just one, handwritten, letter by a monk who spent months of his life hunched over it by candlelight. A single book could cost you an entire year's wages, the price of a small farm, for one book. And you are currently holding a glowing rectangle with 10,000 of them inside it. The second object is even smaller, a single peppercorn. Pepper was so absurdly valuable that people counted it out 1 grain at a time. You could pay your rent with it. Kings locked it away and hoarded it, and it is sitting in a shaker on your kitchen table right now next to the salt. And you have never once in your life thought of it as treasure. To a medieval lord, your spice cabinet is a bank vault. Let's pull over in the 1700s because I genuinely have to tell you about the pineapple. In this era, a single pineapple could cost the equivalent of around $8,000. $8,000 for one fruit. And it was so outrageously expensive that people didn't even eat it. They displayed it. They'd set it out as the glorious centerpiece of a dinner party, purely to scream to every guest in the room exactly how wealthy they were. And if you couldn't afford to actually buy one, you rented it. That was a real business that really existed. You could rent a pineapple for the evening, tuck it under your arm, carry it around the party to show off, and then return it. And the merchant would keep on renting that same slowly rotting pineapple out night after night, until someone finally rich enough came along and ate it. You can walk into a store today and buy a pineapple for about $2 and chop it up without a flicker of thought. You are casually eating the single greatest status symbol of the 18th century. All right, one last stop before we come home. The year is 1916, and this time we are not comparing you to a merchant or a lord or a senator. This time we are comparing you to John D. Rockefeller, the single richest human being on the entire planet. A man so staggeringly wealthy that he makes today's billionaires look like they're getting by. And here's the thing that should stop you cold. You live better than he did, and it is not even close. Rockefeller had all the money that has ever existed, and he could not buy an antibiotic. A simple infection could kill him exactly like it killed everyone else. He had no air conditioning in the summer, no car that didn't rattle the fillings out of his teeth, no television, no phone, no flying across the country in a single afternoon. An economist summed the whole thing up with one perfect question. How much money would somebody have to pay you to go back and live in 1916? Even as the richest man alive on Earth, be honest with yourself. You wouldn't take $1 billion, which means in a very real and literal sense, you are already richer than Rockefeller ever was. You just never once stopped to notice. So here is what's actually going on inside your head. You feel poor, but you feel poor because you are only ever comparing yourself sideways to the richest people alive right this second. And you will always, always lose that game because there is always somebody with more. But almost nobody ever compares themselves the other direction, backwards through time. And the moment you do, the truth becomes almost ridiculous. An ordinary paycheck today commands light and food and spices and medicine and travel that no emperor, no king, and no Rockefeller could buy at any price they named. You out-luxury Caesar. You out-eat medieval kings. You outlive powerful men who died of things a $4 pill wipes out today. By the only measuring stick that actually stretches across all of human history, which is what your hours of work can really buy, you are not falling behind. You are winning. You are quietly one of the wealthiest people who has ever lived. The wealth is completely real. The only part that's new is the feeling that it somehow still isn't enough. So the next time your bank balance makes your stomach drop, I want you to remember the pineapple. Remember the caveman and his 58 hours. Remember that you are hauling around a spice vault and an entire library and a fortune in light like it's all completely normal. If you like discovering that your boring everyday life is secretly outrageous, subscribe and stay curious.